All right, Ruben, shall we start with the first
Yeah,
question?
let's go ahead and start with a voicemail that was sent to us by Beverly.
I would like to know where the Lord said we are not to vote. We must be in politics. I'd like that somebody explain that.
Well, thank you for your question, Beverly. I want to start with you, Dr. Shepard, and kind of get right into it when it comes to politics and the Bible. This can be a hot topic for a lot of conversations around the dinner table, if you will. So what does the Bible have to say when it comes to politics, when it comes to voting? Specifically, does the Bible say anything about not voting?
So I want to turn to the book of Romans. The Apostle Paul talks about our relationship to the government. And so we start with Romans 13, verses 1 through 7. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. Okay, so this doesn't talk about voting.
No.
You see, in the ancient world, most people were either under kings, emperors, or in Israel, it was actually a theocracy. Now, the Apostle Paul here is talking about, he's under the Roman Empire, and he's talking about how Christians are supposed to relate to them. And he says you're supposed to be in subjection to them because God has set them up. Now, this doesn't mean that there weren't bad rulers and that they weren't doing bad things, but that rather God's hand is over all the affairs of the world. So it really doesn't talk about voting per se, but the Bible does very clearly tell us that we're supposed to do that which is good. Paul talks about that here. We're supposed to care for the weak, the widow, the poor, the foreigner. And so we have the opportunity in a modern democracy to vote and to help put into office people who will do those things, doing good things, doing care. Now, it's not that we don't have bad people sometimes in office, but rather, how should we relate to it? We should have the privilege of voting. We should vote our conscience and help put into place those who will be good leaders, like the Bible talks about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shepard, for that answer. I really appreciate that, because this can be a difficult topic. Politics, the Bible, and getting started with it can be difficult. So on that note, Dr. Blue, I want to turn to you here. What else can we add to this question when it comes to politics, when it comes to voting, and the Bible?
Well, I would say that anyone involved in any kind of governance, whether it be school, church, or business, ends up being involved in politics of some sort. The word politics comes from the Greek word politikos, meaning citizen, or it refers to being involved in the affairs of the city, in the life of the community. So in modern day democracies, there may be times when the followers of Jesus can make choices through voting for good. Now, not voting is voting, because that's also going to have an impact. So I would say that being in or voting for any kind of position of authority is something to pray about. It's a form of exercising one's power in a limited sense, and I don't believe that it's a sin. It's certainly something to pray about, to do some research on and ask, what is God's will in the matter? If you have the chance to influence for good, then do so.